The leg. Ready?
We are rolling.
All right, welcome to our next episode of Las Vegas Up Close, just 6 feet apart. Trying to social distance, but also let people know that Vegas is open. With us is Pete Housley, and your CEO of Admit VIP. Do I have to say the dot between the two?
No, that's not right.
Excellent, very good. Because it's admit.vip.
It's the
online.
website.
That's a website. So for those of you that didn't know about the internet, you can look into that. Welcome, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So Vegas is back. We're open. Had the big New Year's Eve celebration last night. There's shows going on, and you're involved in shows, including here at the Alexis Park.
That's true.
Tell me about a couple things. I'm going to give you a loaded question here. What did you do before the pandemic? How has the pandemic affected it? And now that we've started shows again, where do you see us going?
I think the big statement there is we're open. I would say we have the door is cracked. I think is the right way to say that. I think saying we're open gives the suggestion to people that are coming to Vegas that like, hey, everything's back to normal. And it's totally
That's
wrong.
fair to say.
Pre-pandemic, we ran this showroom that we're sitting in right now, which is actually not capable of even being a showroom.
Due to social distancing.
Due to the mandates from the government, which require a 25-foot social distance from the stage to the first guest. So in this room, this small room, there's normally about 120 people in here. We can't seat one. Wow. We literally could probably maybe get away with 5.
And when I did comedy, that would have been a big crowd for me.
It made it laugh, right? So 25 feet from here would not be a thing. So, we also ran showrooms at OEO, or formerly Hooters Hotel, which you're knowledgeable of, and also downtown at a couple venues down there. None of which can actually be open.
Okay.
So, kind of very luckily, we had a great relationship with this property. We've been here for a few years operating this showroom for them. And this is one of Las Vegas's only non-gaming hotels that has hundreds of thousands of square feet of ballroom space.
Excellent.
And guess what they don't have? Anything to go in ballroom spaces.
Exactly.
So there's no conventions, there's nobody back in town. So it was a perfect match, and we went to them and said, hey, you've got this ballroom and this ballroom and this ballroom, and can we fire up shows in them? And they, of course, said, please.
And looking at the room, you've got the light bars, you've got the stage set up. It looks like they took a 25-foot yardstick and ran around, and it's perfectly situated, it's safe. It's following all the mandates, the government, the state government, the CDC guidelines and all that. So a guest can feel comfortable coming to the show.
Absolutely. I mean, you have mask requirements at the door, sitting down, like everything normal in that space. And we try, I think the hardest thing for us reopening shows, which we reopened in late November, other shows opened in October. I mean, there was kind of this rush in early October. The Governor Sisolak came out and said, hey, you can open shows. And we kind of, everybody in the town just, let's go. And they stepped on the gas, and I think a little too fast.
Okay.
And, I sat back and said, I think we should take a minute and breathe, see where this goes. So technically, shows were allowed to reopen to 250 people, maximum capacity, in October, like October 15th or 13th, something like that. And then we didn't open shows until November 18th. And then 3 days later, the governor came out and changed the rules from 250 down to 50.
Okay.
But the 25-foot social distance, that guideline was in place as well as the 6-foot distance rule. So we were familiar with it already, and we just needed to kind of size down to 50. It's interesting though, so we're not allowed to seat guests from 2 different parties together at a table. So even though our maximum capacity is 50 people, we never really quite get there because if you and I arrived, you and your significant other came to a show, and myself and my significant other came to a show, we could not be sat together.
And that was one of the allures of coming to a show in Vegas in the past, is you get to meet new people, it's everyone to have a good time, and you get 8 new people at a table.
Well, I think that was the big challenge, is like, what we know, or from a show perspective, from an entertainment perspective, is there's a certain camaraderie, there's a certain feel to go into a show. I talked to my wife about this. We watched Hamilton on Disney Plus when it first came out, and I had not seen that show on Broadway, but I've seen plenty of shows on Broadway. And my wife has never been to Broadway and never seen a show on Broadway, and so it came up, the lights came up, and it was cool. It was a good watch, but I said, it's not.
Right.
That's not theater to me.
Je ne sais quoi. It's not that.
Well, yeah, it's not like, you know, if you want to go, you go to the theater, you go to Broadway, there's an experience there, right? There's an arrival, you get dressed, you get all, you know, dolled up, and you go out and you arrive at the theater and you get a drink and you casual, you know, you kick around in the vestibule, and then you go and you sit down and there's a smell and there's a vibe and there's an audience, and yeah, you're sitting with people you don't know, and you know, and then the lights come up and it's just an experience.
Yeah.
And the first day we did a show, so we did Motown Extreme the very first time. Now that's a show that's high energy and crazy all the time, like, you know, and people, you know, and I remember saying as we were building that showroom, like, I think our biggest challenge will be saying, hey, that 25-foot distance is not a dance floor.
Right.
And
where you are.
just sit down. And so now we actually have to instruct guests, like, hey, you're allowed to dance as long as you stay within your seating zone. But the energy level is hard.
Yeah.
That first show, and you know, I came back and I talked to the cast, and it's a large cast, and they were pretty depressed actually. They came off stage and they were like, wow, you know, like doing a bad comedy show where the audience was like,
Exactly.
the whole time. And that was exactly how I felt. So over the last month and a half, we've been working on improving that energy, both at the door, when we greet guests, and how we manage guests at the door, and kind of want people to feel comfortable, but we want them to know the rules, but we also want them to have a good time.
Now, can you work with the performers and can learn, and much like doing like online comedy is really difficult, how do you get that? It's the heart floating up, it's the thumb up. I mean, there's ways online that people show appreciation. I actually did a comedy show one time for a hearing impaired group, and I had a translator doing the ASL for me, and I learned that, you know, they start doing this stuff, and to me then that was my appreciation I got back. So how in the pandemic world with that 25-foot you augment their already the energy level they have with understanding that they are actually appreciating what you're doing?
Well, you can start to, like, if you get the energy level, then they start getting up, they start dancing. So the cast and the crew kind of changed the show, they changed the show a little. We added some different lighting, and if you go in Athena, you'll note that we actually took the stage, because the mandate is that there has to be 25 foot from the front of the stage or performance area to the first guest. So we built a big LED wall in the middle of that moat. So it's not performance space, and there's no guest. There's no guest or cast in that space, but it kind of brought it a little closer, about 7 or 8 feet. So 25 feet's a big number.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, when he first said 25 feet in October, I was like, yeah, 25, that's easy. And then you get in and you're like, well, crap, that's a big number.
That's like 4.5 of us laying down.
Yeah, you're like, well,
yeah.
that's a lot bigger number than I was thinking it was. So the energy level comes from that. We changed the music, we changed the songs, we changed the load, the process of loading guests, and we, you know, gave the ushers who technically, you know, normal ushers who we kind of made them a little more humorful and like, hey, welcome to the show, how you guys doing? You know, but we're still checking temperatures at the door. We're still doing COVID, you know, ask, you know, we're quizzing people, have you experienced it? You know, all those kinds of things. We can't sell tickets at the door, don't take any cash anymore. So that's really bad for my bookie. So, I mean, overall, like, it's bad, you know, it's a different experience for a guest, and guests should know that when they come.
I'm going to jump on, you said different experience, to one of our sponsors for a different experience in home buying. See how I did that?
Nice.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Keegley.com is a program, organization that helps you wholesale houses. You find a distressed property, fix it up, sell it, make some money. It's a great opportunity for a lot of folks right now. Actually, I've been on the phone the last couple weeks talking to folks. They were in this career for a while and it went away, and they started in the real estate world. So check with Keegley. Big in Las Vegas right now. It's one of the biggest markets they have. You can call 702-478-2722. 702-478-2722. Camera guy, please don't zoom in on that. Awesome. Okay.
This is a big budget show.
It is a big budget. Well,
Big budget.
we got all the colors.
Wow. Whoop.
We did. So, looking at, and I wasn't going to do it that way, sorry. We'll edit that part out. Thanks. Feedback on the first show. Doing the show now, so we've got all the social distancing in place. We've learned what it's like to perform during a pandemic. Do you see, let's assume the medicine's good, let's assume that things get better, will we ever get back to where it was before, or will we incorporate some of this stuff into our shows going forward, no matter what, because it just makes good sense? I mean, if so, what do you think that would be?
Well, I certainly don't have a crystal ball because I've been wrong more times than I'd like to count this year. I remember saying in March or April to one of our producers, oh, I feel like we'll be back up and fired up on shows in July. And we didn't open a show back until November. So I've definitely been wrong on that. I think it's the hardest part about being in this space right now is like, and I'm sure this is hard for every business person in any business space, what's coming next. We're a little more sensitive to it because, we have guests, we have all kinds of these, like, how do we manage all those things? I don't foresee any kind of sense of real normalcy back to Las Vegas and shows and conventions and tourists and tourism and all that stuff until probably fall of 21. If we do it all right, if the vaccine gets out and people get it, and there's still questions about how we manage all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember early on in the same conversation, I was like, I think it'll be over by July. I also said, I feel like maybe we end up with 2 separate shows, one for COVID people and one who haven't had COVID. So, we cleanse between.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. It's like,
batteries.
there's conversations about vaccination, like passports,
Yeah.
and I have recommended tattoos on your forehead. I thought that
Interesting
was
concept.
a lot easier. Maybe just a barcode.
Well, then you take your temperature and ring up the price at the same time.
Much easier, much everything. So, I think we have to find what that is. But do I think we're anywhere near ready to open the doors full gate? No, I don't think so.
You were here in 09, 08, 09 when the economy really took a dump.
I was here. I think the first time I really was in Vegas for a real downturn was right after 9/11.
Okay.
And that was, I thought it was a real test of like what Vegas was made of. And I think at the time, I was paying attention a lot. I was working in the nightclub and gentleman's club space, and I was watching as all of that business just vanished, like, and what I think the interesting thing is I remember thinking when I first moved here, like, I thought it was weird that those places charged locals cover charges. And I remember, like, right after, like 2 weeks after 9/11, is like early October, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, locals, hey, we're moving again, come here, bring it in. And yeah, so I think, Vegas has a way of reinventing itself over and over and over and over and over, and I think we'll find it.
For those of you who've never been to Las Vegas, but you've seen the movies, you know the stories, and you have a preconceived notion of what it is, an example of what Las Vegas is all about is I told a story earlier about doing comedy for deaf people, and it didn't even faze him. And that's a true story, too. It was a rough gig, but it did.
It is a requirement.
Yes.
An ADA requirement that if a guest insists or requests a translator, specifically hearing impaired, that we are required to provide that.
Well, we were doing, it was a medical facility, so they had all different types of situations going on, and we just went in there to kind of spend some time with them and just kind of turned into a show, but you're right. And I think one thing about Vegas is that we do morph, and we do change, and we do become whatever it takes to be successful and to be that entertainment capital of the world. I'm stoked personally that we're open, sort of. I'm stoked that people can come to a show now, that the full entertainment package is back, even though it's limited. You maybe need a reservation at a restaurant. You can't just walk in, but you can still dine. The casinos aren't as full as they used to be, but that might actually be a better
reservation to go to Denny's.
Wow.
Blew my mind.
Wow. Did the maitre d' get you where you
It
wanted
was
to go?
like wacky. I was
Yeah.
like, somebody said, hey, can we grab lunch at Denny? Can you meet me at Denny's? I was like, yeah, sure. He goes, well, I have to call ahead and make a reservation. I was like,
What?
wow. I mean, thank God that those rules are not in place back in the South. Like, can you imagine a Waffle House? The
Oh my
reservations
goodness.
that people are-
That's a staple of
They
life.
don't got teeth, much less reservations. I mean, we're in deep shit. Vegas has that tendency to like find a new way every time. And you know, in the '90s, we kind of had that dip in tourism and trying to reinvent. It is an opportunity, and I keep saying that, and it's good and bad. Like, I'm super humbled that we're allowed to be open, that we're doing it correctly. Others in town have kind of made this, oh, look at me, I'm the only this or that, and that's not fair. Like, you know, we're super excited, but at the same time, I think, you know, there's an opportunity that exists here that doesn't normally present itself. As a small producer of shows that are typically like in 200, I've made a career for the last 10 years of doing showrooms that are 300 seats, and been successful at it. But it's hard to compete in that space with, you know, the Zappos Theater, 6,000 seats, and you know, T-Mobile, and it's hard to be heard in that space. And that's no matter how marketing goes, whether there's traditional marketing like billboards and, you know, catbacks and that kind of stuff, or really anyway. But now with all the shows closed,
You're right.
we're it.
Yep.
And kind of accidentally, you know, right now, if you go on any of the theater websites like Vegas.com, there's only 12 shows running, and we own 5 of them.
Outstanding.
So
Well,
it's kinda
it
cool.
takes some guts to be the first as well, to go out there and try things, and to be willing to do what is necessary to make it work. So there should be some reward for that. So that's great.
You absolutely have to flex, and I think my hope is what we come out with of all of this is that we learn that we have to be flexible, that we can't be very rigid in the way we do things. And I think entertainment in Las Vegas has become very rigid over the last 10 or 15 years. It used to be Vegas was that entertainment capital, and you know, and there was a great floor show that you could see in the casino.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to pay like $150 to see, you know, French guys flip. You literally like could just appear, and there would be great bands and shows that would happen in the lounges. And that's kind of stopped, and entertainment became this like second thought in the corporate space. I spent a lot of time working with Caesars and that space, and it always amazed me that they were, you know, room revenue and like this, and then, you know, entertainment was like way down the line. So it's great to have entertainment be kind of a focal point again, and I think that's hopefully one of the things we learn.
At the Greek Isles, which is now a parking lot. I didn't do it.
We'll be performing there tomorrow.
Excellent. We got the stage.
Socially distanced.
Exactly.
It's easy. It's outside.
We actually had a stage we put in the casino space itself. We called it the launching pad, and we would allow new performers or someone that just wanted to come work on material to come perform there to give the casino guests that experience. Then you could go into the theater, you could get a ticket for the different shows that we had going on in the actual theaters at Debbie Reynolds Theaters.
Sure.
And I think that was old school Vegas style that we wanted to put that back out there. And I used to enjoy going to the Orleans and listening to the band play. And I would go there and they were really good and play my favorite music, and I could play a little Keno and then go on. And that was just part of what the Vegas experience was. I'm hoping that as we get back into it, and it's almost like the no cover charge thing again, we have to reassess what we are as Las Vegas, what we want to offer people. If you're in Iowa right now deciding where you want to go for vacation, do you want to go to Arizona for spring training? Do you want to go to Las Vegas? Do you want to do both? What can you expect when you get there?
More important than ever, because now gambling is everywhere,
Yep.
right? You know, 15 years ago, if you wanted to gamble, you came to Las Vegas, or you went to, you know, one of the Indian casinos. Now, like, gambling is everywhere, so people can travel an hour to, you know, whatever is closest to them and do that. So gaming can't really be the motivator. And I think, you know, there's a plethora of high-end hotels now that have opened, from Circa that just opened, and there's Resort World's about to open right across the street from us here. Virgin Hotel has, is finished they're signed out, but they haven't announced a new opening date. But these high-end hotels, and I think there's this, like, how do you fill all that, and without giving people enough to do and to entertain them? And so, I always suggest to people when they come to Vegas, I mean, please go check out, Celine Dion or Lady Gaga or whatever. But then the next night, come see one of the independent shows. Come see a smaller show, because we're the people out here that are busting our faces open to put on a good show.
And the Celine Dions and the Garth Brooks and all that started in a venue such as this.
Absolutely. And where you see, and the comics and the Ray Romanos and the, Jerry Seinfelds, they all stood on a stage like this one at some point, and it's that support that gets people to the next level. And it's cool because we do shows. We own a show called The Hilarious Seven, which is not currently running, mostly because we can't really put the cast together. But The Hilarious Seven has had, like, Ron White came in and did a set for us, and Pauly Shore came in and did a set for us. Sorry, Ron White's more important.
Pauly's probably more fun.
Billy Gardell came and did a set with us. Coolio came and did a set with us. That's the cool stuff, and because those people really pay attention. And that's one thing, Vegas isn't that anymore. It's not that kitschy little cool hangout like back in the Sinatra era, where you like bump into a bar and like be Sinatra and Frank and Bean, and Sammy.
09, 010, there was the comics would get together a lot of times at Hooters, and it was great to
Peachy Guy,
Amazing Jonathan, all them. When I was in the comedy world, not that I was any good at it, my peers were the Seinfelds and the Roseanne. I actually got bumped by Roseanne Barr at a comedy club in Denver one time. That's my claim to fame.
Sorry for that.
but those that
by bumped, I mean.
No, not physically. There was six. But that, growing up in that and being in the green room and listening to these guys talk and tell stories and be a part of that, and then if we can translate that back into what the Vegas experience is, I've walking through some of the casinos 5, 6, 7 years ago, and there's Flavor Flav, and this is so cool. I've seen you in movies and videos, and now you're a physical person in front of me. I saw Rodney Dangerfield live here. Sometimes I would come up here from Phoenix when I was going to school at ASU just for a comedy show or something, and then head back. I wouldn't even stay in a hotel because that was the entertainment experience that I wanted. I want to give that back to everyone. I want that to be part of the experience. Yes, you can go to a casino anywhere in the world right now, but you can't get Vegas when you go to those places.
Entertainment has to be part of the fabric of Vegas, and I think the more corporate the big casinos become, the more that's not true. And I think even now that's hard. Like, we've been talking to a lot of shows that are not functional right now and can't be because of the venues they're in or something like that. And the corporate hotels won't let them out of their contracts to play, to work. And that's horrible. Like, these people are on PUA or on unemployment, and and a lot of people, I hear a lot of people talk about that, and these independent contractors and musicians can do all that stuff, but they honestly, they don't want to do that. They want to work.
Exactly.
Entertainers love to entertain, and they would rather be sat on this stage entertaining to 10 people than to be collecting unemployment.
Our show brought to you by Chiefs Luau as well. Chiefs Luau in Hawaii, and it's at Wet and Wild. Thank you, Eddie Sachs. H1 West out of Honolulu to Waianae, and take exit 1E to Wet and Wild at Chiefs Luau, the greatest luau in the history of the world. And it was voted greatest luau in the history of the world by History of the World magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know where that was in magazine, but okay.
When I was at Clarion, Greek Isles, we actually were ranked number 8 in the world by Hotel Chatter magazine.
Wow.
We put it right up in lights. People come and go, oh my God, congratulations. No one asked what we were ranked number 8 for. It was number 8, ugliest hotel in the world. But we were so proud to be in the top 10. And that's why it's a parking lot today.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Pete, thank you so much for being here. Las Vegas up close, 6 feet away. We're going to do this quite a bit. We want to get some of the performers in here. We want to get the message out. My name's Steve Dennis. I'm going to be hosting this show as much as I can, as long as Clinton will allow me to. And we will get the message out that it's opening, it's safe, it's fun. Enjoy the city for what it is. Come back often, do it safely, be sure to follow all the guidelines and everything that is being presented. whatever the rules are, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. It's people like you with your business, with Admin VIP, and then also online it's Ticket Kite.
Ticket Kites, and we, yeah.
Yeah, very good. So be sure to check those out. Hit the subscribe button, the like button here on YouTube, and whatever channels we're on, there's buttons and things to do for that as well. Thanks for watching us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
out, and have yourself a great day.
You too.
Happy New Year.